Keep the lantern bright. Food on the table. Shake it well tonight, as long as you are able. Remember, recover, return. Maria's people. Lajja's people. Give thanks in those names. And I call upon Lou for help in this. And Mama Riri, yes, that's the first thing I should say, is Israel hates Syria because when they look at the land and they see the innocent Muslims who just want to have a family, work, stay busy, try to be blessed of Allah. But when America, the evil empire of Israel, when they look at the land, they see Rhea. They see Maria. They hate the unconscious symbol of motherly justice. The mother who cannot be convinced to sacrifice anyone. No one should suffer for Americans to eat out of microwaves and join Trump in a Big Mac and a Diet Coke and a whole bunch of seed oil. Yeah, you could click right over and see that's the worst thing a human being could eat. And your fake face, fake hair, golfing while children starve in Gaza. In this Hollywood bullshit. We're almost there. Lord Shiva will one day bring that justice everyone's looking for. Inside of time and outside of time. So millions of people are saying there's no goddamn God that hears our prayers, our cares that we suffered. Okay? And some of them were from the first time real world. And some of them are from what we live in right now, a simulation of that real world in a time period that did not happen in the first time history, the first physical earth, which is the only physical earth because Maria Orsic and some others who helped her went to, and she specifically wanted me to say, and Tesla did not help her in any way, shape, or form. That he knew her father, and that in no way was he ever with her, on her side, or, practiced or was interested in what she practiced. She said, I never personally knew him. I don't care to. Because I know the little blonde woman. She's very focused priority focused on her children, her students, her way, her ritual. And people keep asking me, how do I connect with Maria Orsic? Start with the first video and take in the information. Listen what I'm saying. Domingo knows what I'm saying. Jamie knows what I'm saying. See, I was dreaming about her at least 10 years before I ever heard the name Maria Orsic. And the first time that I really was aware, I've heard, read some books and stuff. Who can remember everything they read in conspiracy books or whatever? But the night she told me I lived on Earth, I lived in Germany during World War II, just the last few years, but I was born in Austria, and that's my real home. This honest to God's truth, she said, hey, when you go back to your world and all this ends and we stop laughing and joking, I want you to get on your computer and get on your Google search and put in exactly this. The woman who invented the UFO. And in the image results little strip, I seen her picture and I was like, man, this is real magic. This is so crazy. But it wasn't either, because I say I'm a dumb Hoosier, but I am aware of some things because I've always been a seeker. And I was quite aware. I don't know if I was totally, I had definitely read before, studying Hinduism and cults, but especially Vedas, ancient, the oldest books on earth. And somehow I become aware of some line in the Vedas that says, behind every river and every mountain is a god or goddess. And I freaked out at that because for so many years I counted on the Missouri River to keep me alive. And I used to tell people I have supernatural experiences with the river. And this was when I was a Rasta and when I was a Christian. And what's crazy is I attributed the things to Jesus or the Holy Spirit or something. Which also reminds me of something that Maria totally prophesied and fulfilled and took credit for giving me the desire to read the book that set this whole thing up. And also, for some reason, I just want to mention, there was a wonderful, beautiful girl who I guess I met when she was 14 or 15, named Diana, that lived next to my cousin. And last ritual, Maria, dressed in a brilliant white kind of silky yet businessy, beautiful white suit with a one gold vril sign on the vest underneath the very fitted jacket. And just looked exquisite. And she just was like, who do I look like? And she flashed in my mind a memory which had to be like 35 years ago or more. 30 set like when I was 19. Yeah, I think it was 19. But I had known Diane since she was like in like 13. And people used to say she looked like a literal Barbie doll because she was very naturally blonde with very straight hair and a lot of it down to her waist with very blue eyes, and she was very small and thin and like medium height, not tall at all. She's pretty small. I said, "Oh my God, Maria, that girl saved my life." And she goes, "I am that girl." I go, what do you mean? She was like, "Joe, I was switching bodies with Diane to check on you, just like I was doing with your great aunt," which also I don't think I ever mentioned. I guess it was probably my third or fourth ritual. And this was Maria explaining to me how she was my mother, how she was my real mother, and that where we come from, you're not born and grown in your mother's womb. They prepare like she calls it, a Venusian, Aldebaran energy body, vril body for us. Energy body, right? Venusian energy body, which is technology that hooks into, for a lack of words, your soul, your imagination, and allows you to access other worlds, simulations, and you never have to eat, you never get sick. And if you do have an accident and get knocked outside of your body, which happened to me, I went into a simulation to experience what it's like to die on Venus, because I had never died. And she was like, "No, before you go to Earth and be an Earthling, you got to experience dying on Venus. I don't want the first time for you ever to die to be in the nightmare called the Earth simulation." And yeah, I went to that simulation. I got shot by like a laser energy ball that knocked me like 15 feet out of my body. I was like invisible to the people, but they were talking to me, and they took my body, and like she said, it could be crushed or anything. And they told me, "Follow us," or "Here's the GPS of where we're going, the lab." It's like a hospital, and like she said, at the most it takes 3 or 4 hours, and you're completely back to normal with no psychological trauma or anything. Like, I told her, it happened so fast, I didn't really feel any fear. Because the thing came so fast, but it slowed down right before it hit me. Like, I guess my consciousness tried to slow it down. And I told her I still wasn't really afraid, though. I didn't really feel any fear. And yeah, so, and I also feel like this is sort of a compilation of things that are just coming to me. Things that I left out of the talks. Actually, me. I wanted, this was the last woman who was initiated into the new Frill Society. Officially as authorized by Maria. I was like, no, I can't call it that. And she's like, no, you have to. She's like, because I want this official. I want it all to be written down. Her whole thing for 13 years is I've been working on books about her. I mean, one about her, one about me, one about Lou. And I just started about Lou because... And to give you a preview, Maria and Sig, they went almost all over the world. They went to Pakistan, to the highest mountain, highest glacier in the world, and did all kinds of psychedelic plants. Almost died, almost got kidnapped, almost got raped. All over the world, she said. And we always had to depend on magic to get us everywhere. And she said, yeah, we cried. Yeah, we lost shit. Yeah, we were scared, but we never gave up. They went to India. They went to Siberia, to Nepal. All through the ancient sites. She went to Iceland. She never went to America, never went to the Western Hemisphere. She went to Egypt. Yep, and that's where they almost got killed. And she said they definitely thought that was like American intelligence, British intelligence that were trying to kill them. And, yeah. I've been working on that. She went other places too. And Lou, his story. Wow. And he's been telling me a little bit here and there about, and showed me a picture of him as a child and what it was like to grow up in 6th century, 6,000 BC, around there. He's like, that's as close, like in the simulation. Time is a little different in the simulation, but the major events are set, right? Like, is that really Trump or just a projection of his DNA due to gods? From what I've been told by Lou, the gods force who they have deemed and have convicted as being evil, as a soul that wants to use force or fraud to make a living, to live off of, a parasite, is sentenced, that every time the natural order of the simulation repeats, they're forced into the simulation and to relive their evil life, to fulfill that lack of evil we have on Venus in the simulation, because like Lou said, everyone agreed the simulation has to be very real. So the only use of the simulation, really, the only use, would be for good people to experience evil people and experience the masses. Because we stay well separated into a vibrational caste system that is enforced and ordained. Or I guess ordained would be a word to use, but is not a choice. The gods, who have always really been the real gods, have done this because, like Lou said, the little man was too much like the big man and just wants to destroy each other and will never stop destroying each other. So the big god separated us onto different planets into gigantic domed cities that are weather controlled. Everything's controlled. And the technology, we come, you and I and everyone who's real listening, we come, like Maria said, so many years in the future that we don't like to think about it. We don't like to talk about it. I said, but like how many? Like 5,000? And she said, oh, God, no, Joe, more like 5,000 million. I said, what? And she said, Joe, there's people I know who go into meditations outside of their energy body for hundreds, if not 1,000 years. She's like, that's what we call outside of time. She said, me and you even marvel at that and go, who the hell are you? Because me and Maria, our purpose is our work. Her dances, she creates original dances. She writes. Not a lot, but she has her writings about things. And some of them go back to even on Earth, a Vril newsletter that she used to write. And like she said, I used to only really give it to the real 4, really 3 at a time, but then one had to leave for good, and then 3. So like she said, that was the real Vril Society, and everything else was like a cover for what we were doing. Like she said, you know as well as I do that I don't know anything about engines and shit. I said, it's so funny. Oh, and I was going to tell a story about the book. Yeah. So, you know, she's been setting up, like she calls me her airhead son. She's been setting up for years. Like this, I didn't even know. Other person who I dreamed about, actually, in Lou, and she was veiled in the resurrection dream, so I couldn't exactly see her face. But I sure in the hell could see, you know, you can see through a purple veil. And I definitely could see it was someone I didn't know right now, or at that time. And I had another dream where I was brought out to a commune ashram by 2 Rastafarians whom I really did not like because I was not a Rastafarian anymore when I had the dream. And there was a giant flood, and it was the Mississippi flood because it was on Green Acres Drive in old Marilyn Monroe. Old Monroe. I'm not kidding. I wrote all this down. honest to God's. And like, I know I don't have to say that. I'm joking. Like, who would make up something so fucking weird? But in the dream, these two Rastas came to my house, and I didn't have dreadlocks anymore because I was no longer a Rasta. And they were like, hey, we met these people who are kind of like you. Some of them have dreadlocks, and some of them say Jah, but they're not Rastafarians. They're not Rastafarians. They don't think Haile Selassie is God and blah, blah, blah. And somehow, they convinced me they kept saying like how beautiful she was and the great vibration she had. And how they convinced me was they were like, she sent us to you to ask you to come. And what's crazy, it was flooded so much that me and the two Rastas and somebody from Old Monroe, I had to get into like a little tiny fishing boat with a little tiny motor, and they motored me over to like a house that was like on a incline, like surrounded by water. Sandbagged, like, 20 yards from the house. But clearly, up high, that it was completely dry. And when they got there, it was crazy because the two Rasta guys really disliked me, hated me in real life. And these people, when they greeted me, they had all this respect, and they were like giving me gifts, and they were like, you have to wait right here. She told us to make you wait right here because she has something for you, and it's very important, And then her like assistant came out, and she was like, it's very important for you to stand opposite of her in our hall. And it was like a big dining area. And they had like cleared out everything, and it was like 50-foot little hall, 50 by, I don't know, it was pretty big, actually. Maybe it was like a barn that was really remodeled very nicely. And so I was at like one side of the barn, and she was like at the other side. But it was like real doors and real room. And they were like, you have to stay right here. Right? Her assistant was like holding me right. And I was like, man, this is so funny. Like, what's going on? Like, thank you for being so nice. Like, they're giving me a drink. They were like, we have marijuana. We'll roll you a joint. I was like, oh my God, yes. And then they like turned up the lights, and they were like, okay, now, walk to the middle and meet her. And I was like, what the hell? And this was like 2006, 2007, I would say. Maybe 2008. Right in that era. 2007-ish. And I walked out, and she was holding like a tray. And when I came up with like a little dish of like really nice looking buds, a pipe, a lighter, like a cigar, like juice, and I was just like, damn, this is the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me. And what's crazy is when me and her started talking, and she was telling me why, she did all this. She said, this is how this happened. She said, I like reggae. And I asked someone, do you know any St. Louis reggae people? And they were like, yeah, I just seen this reggae band. It's all white dudes from St. Louis that were pretty interesting, real dub. And she was like, I seen a picture of you and asked if I could meet you. And as she was talking, she had her hair, well, she had two braids, like two thin braids on each side of her face with her hair pulled back. And it was real, like down to her waist. And I started looking at her as she was talking. At her hair and how she was dressed. She was dressed in like a white dress. And I thought it looked kind of like pioneer Western, but it was cut more sexy, and it had like an Hindu Indian thing on it, and it was like white, brown, orange, red. You know, it was like the Hindu. It had like a Hindu vibe, but it also had something American about it. And something very beautiful, something handmade. Like, the reason I noticed it, I was like, man, I looked at it and I was like, dude, someone took a lot of time to make this for this. And she looked so young. I was like, girl. And I thought to myself, how old is it? And when I looked at her eyes again, I went, who are you? Who are you? And then I thought, you're so young. And then she interrupted my thoughts and said, this is my son. He's 15 years old. And I looked at him and I went, whoa, you look so much like your mom. It almost scared me. Because I was still spinning from like, who are you? And then I looked at her son and I almost went like, who are you? But I stopped and went back to her because I was like, hold it. Who are you? That you have this very happy, healthy looking son. And the whole thing got so intense that I started feeling like I was falling into her, like I was, and I literally went like, and woke up. And the first thing I thought was, why the fuck am I with Tito and Glenn, the two most rotten Rastas? And then I just sat on the edge of the bed and thought, for real, just in silence with a morning mouth and just going, who is this girl that I met? Like, that was the first time that was before the resurrection dream, which I never connected until 5/5. And Lou, he's like, hey, buddy. And he's for real, 10 foot tall and giant. And people are asking me, how do you connect with these people on the astral plane? Man, please start, check this out. Listen to me. Let this reality sink in. I'm talking to real people who believe that you paid a company to jack you into this reality. And you've come here for the most important reason or reasons. And the desire for peace, love, and light come from the unconscious knowing that if you fulfill everything you paid to experience, and you do it willingly, as your true self would have already predestined, even by contract, some things. See, the company that jacked you in here, they made all kinds of guarantees like, oh, we'll get your heart broken. Guarantee. Oh, you're going to be born into America. Oh, America's just a fucking mess. Nothing but divorce and just, yeah, you look at the Muslims and you say they're immoral. What about you, America? You're retarded. All you do is cheat, steal, and destroy your own people, and you think you're arrogant. You think everything's an MMA match. And rah, 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 and the narrative. None of that matters. It's a simulation. And after the simulation's over, the god of the simulation is going to go, hey, listen, bottom line, the Muslims were good. Because they were just working and taking care of their families. And when their government never wanted to kill all of you. And their government didn't create a fake terrorist event that murdered its own people and turned around and blamed it on Muslims. Coincidentally, they want you to believe. Just a coincidence. All of Israel's enemies, the land they want. The land they want to steal from people just was a coincidence. They blamed them for 9/11 that, quote, they did. Who's the they? I've told you who the they. I'll tell you again. The United States military is being ran by black magicians of the Process Church who branched out into Scientology, the Edge Group, Esalen Institute, Tavistock Institute. All of it is controlled by the same core black magicians that were trained by Aleister Crowley. And Aleister Crowley is their avatar god of just a fake thing they made up as polarity magic, Satan, the opposite of God. So that'd be your dog that is opposite of, all the things. Pitchfork, fire, red, all the dumb fucking bullshit. And every time, seriously, that's a funny word, isn't it? Seriously. Attention. Yeah. And a big to that woman that I have been speaking of. Peace and light, because you're going along in life and you're like, okay, I'll give you an example. A guy I worked with who was like 15 years older than me, say I was like 30 and he was 45. This is no lie. He had me over to his house and he was a well-read person, and I thought, man, okay, this dude's pretty cool. He's interesting. He's not just a drunk. He knows a lot and seems to... And he wrote a novel, a whole novel, like a 300-page novel that sounded pretty interesting to me. He seen lots of he was a real hippie, you might say, for a little while. And it's strange, just like the punks. It's like, what was the problem with staying a hippie. Like, I'm still a punk. And people are like, you're 55 years old. Why are you dressed like that? Like, I've been dressing like this since I was 15 years old. No lie. They didn't have, in 1984, I was 15 in 1984. They didn't have skinny jeans, did not exist. And they only had like a boot cut. And me and my friends were like, what a boot? Who wears boots? Who could afford them? They looked crazy. You couldn't buy those. Or flares, or even bigger flares. Bell bottoms. Yeah, I almost forgot. Bell bottoms, which were giant flares, and of course I know people are like, dude, don't you know that stuff comes back and blah, blah. Yeah, I know. But I'm saying when I was a kid, I'm telling a story. I'm Biden now, getting irritated. Be quiet. Tell the story. I hate Russia. Hate them. Ruskies. Come on, man. Come on, Maria. And what was I saying? You can't expect me to always... I'm just flowing today with whatever. It's very interesting. Okay. I'm sorry. I just have to go here. Last night, this is what keeps me going. Last night, I was in my backyard at 4 a.m. underneath the beautiful full moon, and I was feeling so happy. And I love that like silver cool light. I feel like it's very healing. Like, people should meditate under the silver full moonlight. And no lie, I heard a man's voice say, "What's up, Joe?" I said, "Huh?" I said, "Is that you, Lou?" He said, "Yeah, it's me, Jojo." He said, "Hey, you should walk in the front yard, like right now." So I got my cigar and I started walking out there. And when I opened the gate, I heard something. My first thought was, who is driving a tractor or like a big riding lawnmower down the street? Because I could hear it getting closer to me. And just is quick. And it was just so, it came quick. And just as my sight could see what it was, I just couldn't believe it. And I live in a very residential neighborhood, but one street over is the Missouri River Bluffs. But running from like the neighborhood, the heart of the neighborhood, towards the river, down my street, right down the sidewalk. Like, I told Lou, what do you think that is? About 30 feet? He said, yeah, about 30 feet. A giant deer, a medium deer, and a little deer. Just in complete focus, appropriate, perfectly like spaced, running together. It was like sometimes their hooves were hitting, and it was just like awesome drums, but other times it was like filling. So that's what was causing that like sound. And they just galloped 30 feet in front of me as if they did not see me whatsoever. And just right by me. And I just stood there in lieu. And there was like a silence. And I heard in my head, come follow us. So I started walking up the street. And again, and I seen them make a right at that Bluff Street, which is called Bluff. And so I was going to make the right too, but right then I heard the noise, and for real, a second time they just ran right directly in front of me as if I wasn't there and just bolted down the Bluff Street. And actually went in front of the last house, but behind these buildings of a old school, and disappeared. And then I heard in my head, did you see us? I said, man, did I ever? Did I ever? And maybe somebody out there knows what that means, or that means something to you. My thought when they went by was father, mother, son, or daughter. Family. Getting the fuck out of here. Which is the plan. You know what? Maybe I'll call this Remember, Recover, Return, the Real Plan. Okay? This is the real plan. Lou is going to set all the records straight about God, Yahweh, Jesus, truth, myth, lies, tricks. The Bible is the greatest trick and the greatest test for any Westerner that grows up brainwashed in Christianity. This is your test. And for real, I apologize to the girl that was listening that said it's not common sense. And, really, I really do apologize. You're right. It's not. It's serious, serious magic. And for real, I've suffered. So don't think that I am unsympathetic. I'm here to defend completely that the Bible is trash. The Bible is black magic. All I have to say is read it yourself. Stop listening to other people. Read that bullshit. There's no history there. It's a trick. The word God doesn't exist until Aleister Crowley and the replay of the real reality this was Crowley's plan in the late 1900s that he went to the MI5 with. Okay, here, I'm giving it to you. Straight from Maria Orsic. This is what happened. Aleister Crowley went to Egypt and made deals like Donald Trump. The art of the fucking deal. Oh, you don't do it for the money. Is that why you have so much money? Then why don't you give it away? Why don't you ever give it away? You're old now, dude. You never gave it away. You're holding it like you're going to be here forever. Right? And Crowley made deals with these obvious, read the book of the law, obvious evil gods who told them human beings will have to be sacrificed for a new world order and for there to be created in the simulation a elite that rules over the slaves. And that's why, read it yourself, book 77 or whatever it is, do what thou wilt, love under law, blah, blah, blah. But this is the important part. Except for the slaves. Who is the slaves? He's talking about the slaves of Atlantis. Okay, this is straight from Maria. You want some Maria knowledge. The slaves of Atlantis were the people who rose up against the just government that was left in place by Lord Lucifer and Queen Diana Donna. Okay? And this was the key to their rebellion. We live under this monarchy government created by these so-called gods. Okay, this is the attitude of the slave, right, that calls their self a slave. Like Lou and Donna said, are you kidding? We had the most prosperous land ever. And he said it just doesn't matter, Joe. There's just a sector of people that just don't want to work, no matter how good the deal they're getting. They don't want to work. They want to figure out a way to cheat people out of their money who do work. And they get together, they unite. That's what we call evil. And these people who don't want to work came up with this philosophy. Let's subconsciously start using magic and natural energy and the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, water, fire, air to tell these people. And like they said, if they believe it, it becomes real. So who cares what's real from there? Because that's where we can manipulate them. Okay, and here was the message that went out and is still going out every day. We are all gods. We are all gods. We are all beautiful. We are all valuable. Everybody's valuable. Each person has good in them. All. These are the nightmarish assumptions that you have been programmed with by the black magicians to keep you pacified, to keep you from becoming spiritually violent, to keep you from going in your meditation and saving children and freeing women and stopping murderers and stopping wars. Like America's not going to stop until they experience it themselves. Until the average person is like, yeah, I know somebody who got hit by that nuke in Chicago. Personally, that I loved are gone. And I know people who lost their whole families when that nuke hit Miami. And people might say, you sound like you're happy about it. I want justice. See, the trip is, I care about every good person. Whether I know they're good or they're just so busy working and trying to keep taking, as long as none of these countries attacked America. None of these countries are the aggressor on Israel. None. We're guilty of every war crime. America is guilty over and over and over and over and over of war crimes. And what makes it double, triple bad is we blame what we do and accuse innocent people and blame them and build a false narrative to say that they did what we actually did do. We actually publicly legalized torture of other human beings when we know that it doesn't work. Anyone who's that scared will say anything their captors want them to. We all know this. So what is it really about? It's about black magic and absolute total control as the proof that I'm the magician. I'm the God. And these people made up that Yahweh was God, creator of all things. People, there is no such thing. Your soul, spirit, is just that energy that's always been here in one form or another. You just can't remember. You're in a simulation. And that's why like she said, it's practical, Joe. The mantra is remember, recover, return, because simply that's the way out of here. And I know that's all you want. When you're suffering and don't know why, I mean really suffering. You can't sleep, you can't eat, you can't be happy. You can't be happy. It's impossible to be happy. You know? It's like you're allergic to the world. Right? She was like, tell everyone, you don't have to get that bad to realize you've always been here. Stop crying out to God and start praying to your true self. Start getting on your knees and closing your eyes and saying, if I'm really real, then I've always been here. I've always existed in one form or another. And of course, if you're a person, you've always been a person. Maybe you were an astral person, right? Where your imagination can create anything. You can be anything you want. Right? There's astral realms where people have been for billions of trillions. It's beyond time. They've always lived there because they hate everyone because we all suck to them because they're high vibration. They're like, dude, don't come around here. You're worried about people listening to your songs or watching your dances, or that's earthly and worldly, and we don't want that. You know, me and Maria thought of it as like street kids to these people. Like, you fucking dirty street kids. Get out. And we admire the beauty of their art and the things they create. But we're not them. And we don't exist on that level. Like she said, you know, make it very plain and simple. We are people. We're interested in people and their stories and helping them fulfill, like, be happy, like she said. You know, she told me in the very beginning, ask me anything you want to know or ask me for anything you want, she said. And, you know, I might ask you for something back, but she said, I probably won't because I don't need anything. She said, but you're going to realize the reason I'm doing this. She said, before you came here, when you were my child, I used to say to you, I love you because you give me the true thank you. That you don't send the same energy to the public or to people that you don't think are as beautiful inside and out as me. Like, you know, being around her has taught me, like, what it really means to teach someone. You know, you have to have, like, almost like an ancient plan. You know, I've never once have you heard me say in this podcast that I'm not a teacher of any. Maria always corrects me and says, but back home you are. But on this earth, I couldn't remember anything without Maria. And once I started remembering, I was remembering what I was taught by her. And that is what she's doing. Like, that is what makes her happy. I mean, like she said, man, fuck everyone. I trained you. I trained you to be this way. Like she said, I created you, Joe. Like in a joke. Like your friend, like you blew up as like a pop star. And your friend was like, hey, nobody really knows, but I created you. When you were just a kid and didn't know what to do or who to be or what you were going to do, and you were confused and sad. She was like, I created you with my imagination. I read your energy and said, Leo, you have to shine. You have to write songs. You have to sing from your heart, not from your, trying to be famous or rich. You got to, like, Joe, heart is originality. And, Scorpio moon, like she's like, that's me, that's my style, creativity. That's the dance of death. And like the confronting, being the first person someone meets after they die in the simulation. She's like, yeah, that's what part of my purpose was. Like, okay, when the natural world was going on, there was no God, like the simulation. So what happened when you died? You cried out to the gods. And you hoped that one of them came. Because you were just there on earth, but nobody could see you. Hungry and thirsty, but you not real hungry and not real thirsty, but unable to eat or drink. Desperate, scared. And the gods would show up and say, the little man don't get it. Just want to fight, blame each other. Scared of their enemies. Rather fight with each other than fight their enemies. Rather cheat each other than really work and earn it. Like so, we did our best to make you forget and go spinning off into your own repeating reality that we hoped you would come back and say, I'm a fool. I'm the fool. Yeah. I give thanks to her for real. Thank you, Maria. Thank you. And Queen Donna, I'll be getting into the ayahuasca sessions with Maria, walking me into the light of the beautiful, the powerful, the rising. She is going to be known. She is many names. The one people seem to like is Kali. Yeah. This ritual we're going to be calling upon Queen Donna Kali. Danu, Da, And I say Dana because she told me exactly how to pronounce it and exactly how to say it because it's very ancient. And her parents named her that because they knew. And she's like, believe me, Joe, in the first time reality, it means 1,000,000,000,000 times more that your mother and father knew something about you before you were born. And the name they gave her was Dana. And like she said, it went back to ancient Egypt and her roots of her, part like semi-royal family. She was part of a royal Persian / Indian Aryan line 6,000 years ago. And that went back to, like she said, we took you on this whole journey. That went back to Egypt, which went back to Ireland, through the Middle East, through Cannabis, Canaan, Amoria, and to Ireland, the land of music, and back to the North Pole, ancient North Pole. Dana means young princess. Day princess, the princess of the day. The princess whose smile is like the daylight for your soul. The beautiful sunshine that shines in your heart as you talk to her, as you stand next to her, as you look into her beautiful brown, green, gray, everything, eyes. Wow, Dana. And her, I love how she always wants me to look at her body and tell me what I think of her body and her dancing and, how she moves. Her, she's like, I am the belly dancer, as you would say. We never said belly. She said, what's a belly? A bell? She was like, I hope not. Yes. And on that note, thanks and praise to Queen Dana. Honor, respect, recognition for your wisdom, for your joy, your comedy, your happiness, your dancing, your creativity. And I'll be getting into the day and a light. The day, the average day in the life of Lord Lucifer, the one and only Shiva, Odin. And why and how can he be all those things? Because we are living in a simulation, which is his art. So the simulation is the myth. The myth is not a lie. I mean, let's not be dumb. Let's not be Christian. My ancient breath. My myth. Right? Let's just say it, street language. The simulation is a very creative, artistic expression of Lord Shiva and his wife, Queen Shakti Kali, Dana, Parvati. And their 2 children who are married, Jason and Hella. The true love, brother and sister, the real brother and sister that make the world spin.